Welcome to Old School. Cenk, Jayar Jackson, Dave Koller. All right, Jayar is plenty old school enough, but Dave, it's great to see you here, brother.
Man. Yeah, so I'm on Old School like 3 times a year, and when I'm on, I feel like it's old school, because it is. But then you do it all those other weeks, and it's a bunch of new school people, and but for me, it's old school, because I'm on
it. Okay, here comes Dave Koller. Cranky as always, I love it.
Dave only accepts to come on Old School when it's actually old school. He's not gonna play that game of this kind of old school, or maybe like youngish school. No, it's gotta be old.
No. Dave, between me, you, and Jayar, does this count as old school? Is this good enough?
Yeah, this is solid, hardcore old school.
Okay. Between us, we have nearly 60 years at TYT.
Yeah,
I think that's right. I think that's old school enough.
Where does it stop though? Where does it cap? Okay, because obviously the Schurers and the Mankiewiczes and the Godoys of the world. Who else? Anna. Is John? He's borderline, right? Where does the old school line stop?
Yeah, John is next gen.
John's only been at TYT for like a decade. That's next gen stuff. Okay.
He's on the bubble, man. And sometimes you don't get to make it when you're on the bubble. It's just the way it is.
Right.
Yeah. For people who watch TYT now, and Anna's super old school, but they assume like this, or some probably assume she was there from the beginning, but she wasn't actually. And so Jayar's been with TYT for 4 years at least, maybe 5 more than Anna. So
07. 07 is when she came in.
Yeah, and were
I
you
was like
2 or 03? 03, yeah. So 4 more years than Anna.
Yeah.
But who even remembers those 4 years? I mean, God, they were 14 years ago.
Yeah,
14 to 18 years ago. So, anyways, of course, Old School brought to you by Too Strong Coffee, new handmade mugs. They're awesome. Nice. Definitely check them out. TooStrongCoffee.com/TYT. I'm now drinking. Steve-O convinced me. Speaking of old school, Steve-O convinced me to start drinking coffee black. So no coffee, no cream, no sugar, because you do the math on how much cream and sugar I put in my coffee over the course of a year, and that's got to be 5 pounds at least right there, right? But so far so good. I've had 2 cups of coffee, black, and since they're Too Strong Coffee, they're delicious.
But okay, I hate to go on this tangent, but I don't understand exactly. Do you literally feel something different in your energy levels when you drink coffee?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah. Well, first, Jayar, everybody does. That's why they drink it. Secondly, that's why you have the T-shirts and stuff that say like, "Not now. I haven't had my coffee."
Yeah, and I thought they're lying. It's like it used to be that way, and not anymore.
I trust me that they are not lying. So, but when you ask me, I'm a little different. First of all, on everything, right? So that's not surprising. But I have both a less extreme and a more extreme reaction to coffee. No, I don't need coffee to have energy in the morning. I'm not one of those people like, oh no, I can't wake up and I can't have energy if I didn't have coffee. I went, Ben tricked me into drinking coffee in those early years, in those exactly the years we were talking about. 2003 to 2007 is when Ben hoodwinked me and convinced me that real Americans drink coffee. And that's when I got into it. So I was fine for 33 years before I ever drank coffee, right?
Yeah.
On the other hand, the real reason I got into it, I was like, oh, okay. First of all, the taste is not bad. I thought it was going to be bad. It's not. But most importantly, it gives me a buzz, and it gives me a buzz way more than the average bear. Which you know me, that's not that surprising, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so that caffeine buzz for me is not like theoretical or hypothetical or like, oh, did I feel it? Kind of, maybe, right? No, if I've gotten enough sleep and then and I drink a good cup of coffee in the morning, whoo, I feel great.
Really? Nothing works on me. So I drink coffee weekdays. Weekends I don't. It's strictly a routine because I get up, go to the desk and start working. I'm like, oh, might as well have a coffee. Wife drinks it, she makes some, so I'll pour one to it. Every day now. Saturdays and Sundays, 0 because it doesn't feel different at all. I'll drink it and I'm like, I guess I finished that. And I'm not tired or anything. I wake up and I'm up. Once I'm up, I'm up. So like it's just one of those things. I just kind of do it out of habit now, just because I feel like I should. It's like if you go to a bar, nobody's gonna go to the bar and then order water all night. You're gonna have at least a beer, right? So like if you go to work every day, like, oh, I guess I have a coffee because that's what people do.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing from you, Jayar, basically is that you gave in to peer pressure. Okay. Now a guy not often willing to give in to peer pressure. By the way, so I did too, but just a one-man peer pressure of banquets. But Dave Koller, to my knowledge, you don't drink coffee. Correct?
Yeah, still not a coffee drinker. I'm not against it. I actually like the smell of it, but I just never got into it. I'm not that crazy about the taste. So,
you know what? And honestly, no, you know why? Because the best part of it is strictly, and I hate to tell you this, Cenk, because you've turned over a new leaf, is the creamers. It's fun. It's fun. Like, do you know how many creamers there are out there, bro? So like, there's like the seasonal. You get the peppermints for Christmas. Then you get the pumpkin spices for Halloween and the fall. Then you get like the regular creamers. Then you get the Snickers, and then you get the Peeps on like Easter. They've got so many different creamers. Honestly, that might be the reason that I drink it. It really is, because I will drink it black. What the hell is the point of that?
Well, so I have 2 things to say about that. Well, number one, the other day we were in the studio and Anna was saying to John, you're the king of candy. And I was like, no, don't do Jayar like that. Jayar is the king of candy. Okay, John
knows it. John knows.
Come on, right? We all saw it. Okay, we've seen it now for 19 years or 18 years. So Jayar brings in a giant vat of candy. He is to candy what Rush Limbaugh used to be to
Oxycontin.
Well, the Oxycontin for sure, but Viagra. You remember when he took like a barrel of Viagra down to the Dominican Republic? Anyway, so it's unsurprising that you would be drinking those creamers. I'll play the role of Mankiewicz here when he would say that's unacceptable. That's not how you're supposed to drink coffee. You've ruined the whole point. Okay, we're past that. But it's old school, so it's appropriate that I can't stop talking about Ben today. But it is kind of weird. I don't normally do this. But he has a rule that Christmas songs are not good, because if they were good, you would listen to them at other times of the year. Okay, it's funny and it's a quarter true, but not really. They're about Christmas.
So. I'm gonna write that down, bro. You know why? Because I like random yet truthful thoughts that come out of nowhere, and that is definitely one of them.
No, I thought of it. It doesn't make any sense. Then you could say Christmas is no good, because if it were good, you'd celebrate it every day of the year.
That's such a Dave Koller conclusion. I love it. Everybody's got their own personality. I love it so much. Anyway, no, but the reason I brought it up is because I feel that way about. I don't feel that way about eggnog, but mainly out of the lack of availability. I do feel it about pumpkin pie. So eggnog, I have every Christmas season. I will definitely. It's become a routine now where I will go and buy like a quarter gallon of eggnog, and I'll get. I eat and drink everything really slowly, so that'll take me like a month or 2 to finish that, right? But I love it. But I'm not having eggnog in the summer. Partly because the stores have realized that, and you literally can't buy it anytime, but in the fall and winter. But pumpkin pie, I will only have in the fall because it actually sucks.
So why do you have it then?
Because it's America, and and in the fall you have a slice of pumpkin pie and go, oh yeah, pumpkin pie. I'll enjoy it this one time because it's the fall, but I definitely won't have it again. No.
You gotta go to some black bakeries and get some sweet potato pie, and trust you will change your mind. I'm not sure where this pumpkin pie you're getting it from. Maybe it's from West LA or somewhere. But don't do that anymore. I'm gonna hook you up. We'll figure it out.
All right. Well, I'll definitely try it, Jayar. But it's funny you mentioned that because last night my wife was saying that I was wrong for not liking sweet potatoes. I just don't. So
that's fine.
And the problem is for sweet potatoes, they didn't put a season on it. If they'd said it was attached to summer, I'm like, all right, it's summer.
Yeah, gotta have them. True.
Okay, now I'm gonna connect a bunch of topics. One of them is we're old school, been here for a long time. A guy who started here 10 years ago just called me right before we got started. I couldn't tell if you heard. I told you guys, but I was barely on mic. Jason Rubin called me.
Yeah.
So old school TYT Sports, and he says hi to you guys. And he's had a couple of like pretty serious jobs since, and I love it that he's doing great. I love anybody who worked at TYT doing great elsewhere, but also another TYT alum got him the job. I was like, yes, we've done something in the world.
Was it Strom?
No, it was Dan Keston.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So God bless Dan. Look at the TYT folks sticking together. That's a sight for sore eyes.
I could have sworn you were gonna say Jason Rubin called you, and he's like, yeah. So I'm back come back to LA, and I'm just wondering if you guys have the sports thing doing.
No, he said we tried a couple of years back to get him back. He was at ESPN at the time, and no, he's doing great. He's got a whole wonderful career. So
awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. So in that sense, good news, we've lost him forever.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now what I was gonna start with is Blockbuster. Do you miss it? Go. Dave, why don't you start?
Blockbuster. Well, yes, because I haven't really figured out the whole street. Well, I'm not subscribed. I figured it out. So Blockbuster's no commitment. You go, you get a movie. If you want to watch a movie every 3 days, you go every 3 days. If you want to watch it once a month, you go once a month. I like that streaming service. You got to calculate. Do I want to subscribe to something else? And what if I don't use it? And do I cancel it? Blah, blah, blah. So yeah, I miss Blockbuster.
Okay.
It wasn't the most important thing in my life, but I liked it. And it's still funny to see the obviously old Blockbuster stores sitting empty on various streets all around town. It's kind of funny and sad.
They still keep those up? I thought those all got taken over. Like,
well, slowly but surely they're getting taken down. But over many years after they disappeared, you could see, oh, that was a Blockbuster. It had the art.
Same with Circuit City. Every Circuit City that was gone, you're like, oh yeah, Circuit City built their buildings a certain way that if anybody takes over this building, you're not like. There's a Ross Dress for Less that used to be a Circuit City. I think you guys know which one I'm talking about. It's on like La Cienega, right? And then so it's gonna look like a Circuit City from now on. It's like Ross Circuit City.
Okay, so I gotta say two things about that. Number one, by saying you know exactly which ones were the old Circuit Cities, Jayar has said the most true thing ever said in old school. Okay, that everybody knows what the Circuit City ones look like that were around back in the day, and you go, oh yeah, that square thing with that's Circuit City, right? And now this magically connects back to 2003 to 2007 because that La Cienega Circuit City that used to exist, I believe is the one Dave and I went to where we switched the radios to our channel on DirecTV and heard the Young Turks on the air for the first time.
Yeah.
There's so much history there. Look at this. Look how it comes together. See, when old ass guys from the Young Turks get together on this show, we come up with the old school things that actually used to happen.
But it's not just that we switched the channel so that we could hear. We switched the channel so everyone who visited that part of the store could hear the show.
Yeah.
That's partly why we didn't take the Sirius deal, and it's also why it's hilarious that people now are like accusing us of caring about money, man. how many times have we turned down money? I mean, right? But we partly turned down the Sirius satellite radio deal, the second contract or the third contract or whatever it was, because they wouldn't let us do online video. And I thought, if you don't let us do online video, the only people who are ever going to hear us are at a Circuit City. Right? Who are not going to be able to reach anyone because it's just your own subscribers.
Yeah.
And so it connects that way. And back in the day when we were doing the show out of that studio on Wilshire, across the street was a Blockbuster.
Yeah.
And sometimes,
oh my God, that area is unrecognizable. I don't live over there, but I drive through rarely, and every time I drive through, there's 7 new things around there, and it looks completely different. But as far as that Circuit City / Ross, and you turning on that the radio there, oh yeah, no, the thought being like you said, if we turned on lots of money, the biggest way you can tell who from TYT has ever not turned on money, those are the people that are no longer with TYT. So like Jason Rubin is like, he's like, yeah, see, I'm not coming back. I'm with ESPN because they're paying me way more.
It's a very easy way to find out who cares about money, right? They're no longer here. No, and by the way, we're not saying anything bad about Jason. Jason's as good a guy as it gets. He's the good Rubin. Dave has a connection to the employees, I think, in a way throughout the years that others don't. I don't remember talking to you too much about Jason. I'm sure we did back in the day, but my guess is that you love Jason Rubin.
Yeah, I was cool with Jason. Yeah, we were good. I don't know. We didn't bond enough over the New Jersey thing, and I don't know why. I think he wanted to renounce it, kind of.
No, he's Jersey. He's Jersey, but he went to college in Rhode Island, and now, funny enough, he's I don't know. I don't think there's any harm in saying he's working at Bally's, but not in Vegas. Their headquarters is magically in Rhode Island.
Oh,
so,
wow.
yeah. So he's back in Rhode Island of all places. Yeah, but but no, he was Jersey. We talked about Jersey a little bit, for sure. But he was also partly Rhode Island. That's why I brought it up, because of where he went to college, which is like true of everybody, right? Like Dave, you're partly Colorado, because you went to University of Colorado for graduate school. Like, I feel like that's a piece of your identity.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, can't argue with that.
Yeah. Like, if you'd never gone there, I wouldn't, like, if you said, is Dave Colorado? But no, not particularly. But by the way, I just realized after all these years that you were a geologist and you went to graduate school at Boulder, Colorado.
He was always thinking this through.
Did you guys in school, did you guys make nonstop Boulder jokes?
No, people didn't make that joke, but everyone made the connection. It was just too obvious to joke about.
He said we were too smart for that joke.
That's exactly what he just said. Okay. Anyways, so I used to dodge traffic to go to that Blockbuster after the show sometimes if I was going to treat myself. But sometimes I'd go to a Blockbuster further away because I felt like I was risking my life dodging that traffic to cross the street.
Oh. No. By the way, no, the pushback. I'm sorry, Dave. I have to do this because I'm very particular in other ways. You talk about how Ben has these things, and as you guys already point out, I'm probably wrong about the coffee thing too, but it doesn't matter. Blockbuster and subscription services like the Netflixes, because actually Blockbuster started doing that. If you guys don't remember, right? When they were starting to close their stores, it was more that when Netflix started, Netflix used to send you discs, right? Instead of a subscription service. It was like that. And once Netflix started sending subscriptions, so you don't have to get off your ass and cross the dangerous street across to go to Blockbuster, then Blockbuster said, oh no, they're killing us. We gotta start sending discs to people. So they did the same thing, but it just didn't last because then Netflix switched over to the subscriptions. Now, the thing is if you pay like, I don't remember how much it was, $3 or $4 for a rental. I guess correct me if I'm wrong. But if you're paying $3 or $4 for a rental and you get 4 of them in a month, you spent $12. And you might as well get the subscription every month for $12. Like, well, I don't know, subscriptions to these like apps and these streaming services, people always talk about how expensive it is. It's not bad. It's like $10-12 every month.
Well, you've struck on a psychological thing. If you subscribe to Netflix and you pay whatever $9 one month and you watch a bunch of movies, you're happy. But if the next month, if you paid $9 and you didn't watch any movies, you are pissed. Even if Blockbuster cost you $12.
I don't know. I guess I don't miss it because that's also the love and the hate of like these automatic withdrawals from your bank account. I look up later and go, oh yeah, that's right. They took $12. I forget.
Yeah, no. This is a very common Dave Koller thing where at first he says something, you go, oh, that's crazy, and then you think about it for a second, you're like, wait a minute, is that right? Right? Because like I never think about the Netflix subscription money, and of course it's designed so you don't think about it, and you don't see it as much visibly every time. But if I took out 3 movies from Blockbuster and didn't watch them, and I had to return them after paying $9, oh, I'd be devastated. I'd be emotionally.
That was the worst part. That was by far the worst part because I would do that half the time. I have this, it's like you have a taste for like a dinner. Except once you get it home, you don't want it anymore. It's how I always have been with movies. Or I get an hour into the movie and I'm like, oh, I have a problem with committing to a movie. Now this is what's stupid about me. I'll be like, oh, that movie's like, I will look every movie I ever watch on streaming services. I look at how long it is before I watch it every time. I don't know why. I just look at it and go, oh man, if it's longer than an hour and a half, if it's 95 minutes, I'm like, well, see, that's an hour and 35 minutes. An hour and a half is like standard movie length. So, oh my God, if it goes 120 minutes, I'm like, forget this movie. It is absolutely not worth my time. But my dumbass will watch 4-hour-long episodes of a show, which is 4 hours.
Yeah. No, that's a Ben rule I do not agree with. He thinks a good movie should be 90 minutes, period, right? Sure, it's like, but like the movies that I'm rooting to be 90 minutes are the ones that aren't that good. I want them to be over already, right? But if I'm in the middle of Godfather, I don't need it to be 90 minutes. I wanted to keep, like Game of Thrones, limited to 90 minutes? Are you nuts? No, we watched like 100 hours of it and we were thrilled with that.
Yeah, it keeps it moving. Okay, Godfather. I've never seen it all. Inception, isn't that a long movie too?
Yeah, but I bet Inception is long.
I own it. It's right here. It's an old disc. I've never watched it. Hold on, I'm gonna prove this to you, bro. I've had this movie since like 2000, whenever it came out. It says rental at the bottom because I got it when like Blockbuster was falling apart. I've never watched it because it's too long, bro.
Well, what's the proof? Is it shrink wrapped? Like, is it sealed still?
No, it's just no. It's old. It's 148 minutes long. I'm like, please, I'm not watching this movie. You kidding me? I'm just saying, bro.
Jayar, it's 2 movies. It's 2 movies. You can watch it.
Oh, that's right. That's right. It's 2.5 episodes. Don't sweat it. So it's funny because the other day I found 2 old Netflix CDs. Like, you know how in the old days they sent them to you right before they turned fully streaming. And of course, Wendy and I, being who we are, we forgot to send the last 2 back. And so when I saw that, I was like, damn it, they probably charged us a lot of money for that and I missed it, right? And I'm like, well, we found them. I wonder if we could return it. And then I don't remember who it was Wendy or Lee or whatever, but they looked at me like, really? You're gonna try to return it 7 years later? Right?
I still have one. I still have one.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, oh yeah. Everyone, doesn't everyone have one?
I don't know. You're not supposed to, but I imagine they probably charge us a pretty penny for that anyway. So screw it. But Jayar, to the point about you not watching that movie, I bought a couple of movies that I absolutely love. In fact, I think I've only bought 2 in my life: Dead Poets Society and Gladiator. Right? Oh. But even those, I never watch them because I keep thinking every time I look at them, like, well, I know what happens.
Well, Gladiator, I think we've mentioned this many times. Gladiator is like top 2 movies of all time for me. I just love that movie. And I have the disc too, but I've never watched it on the disc because if it comes on TV, I got it. It's like, it's one of those things, if I'm flipping and it's on, I'm watching. It's just gonna happen. There's zero chance I'm gonna flip past Gladiator. It's just not. So I'll watch it in those break. And if I happen to catch it in the first 20 minutes, I'm like, oh, excellent. If I catch it in the last 45 minutes, it doesn't matter. I'm still watching the last 45 minutes of that movie. It's just, it's kind of a perfect movie. Let's keep it real.
What are you, Midwestern? Which you kind of were. Because like, who's still watching shows on live television in the middle? Right? But the only time that ever happens is the other day I went to a hotel and it didn't have the streaming services, which now most of the hotels do. And I was like, what? I literally for like 2.5 seconds was like, what is this? What streaming service is this? What? And then I was like, oh, it's TV. Right, channels. I got it. Wow, holy cow. And so
you gotta hold on.
I hadn't flipped through channels in like years and years. So I was like, let me flip through channels.
Oh my
God. So, but people still do that.
Yeah, the only reason I do is for sports. I figure you watch enough sports that, honestly, the only reason I still have cable is because of sports, live sports, and every other sport I want to watch. It's just easier to get all of it,
Yeah, it turns out you guys are more old school than I am. I finally cut cable like 2 years ago. But I have a bunch of streaming services. So Dave, did you say you don't have streaming services?
Right now, I don't. I've had probably every streaming service at some point, but I don't hold on to them. After a few months, I cancel them.
What, did you just binge watch the whole damn thing?
No, I don't
got
watch.
my money's worth. I'm out.
There's a couple things I want to watch. I sign up. I keep it for 3 months. I don't watch a lot of movies.
Well, there actually aren't. There's a lot more series than movies. That's for sure.
Yeah. Well, first, also I do have Amazon Prime actually because of Amazon Prime, so I have that one still.
Well, I sure hope that you've signed up for Twitch membership through Amazon Prime. Speaking of which, Terry Berry on Twitch says has been with us for 14 months and says, "Love my TYT fam." Right back at you. Okay, nice. Much love. So, Dave, you are now officially the first person I know who doesn't have Netflix. Yeah. I can't remember the last person I ever met that didn't have Netflix,
or who consciously ends their subscription services without their credit card expiring, and then that's the reason that they ended their subscription service.
That does seem rather unbelievable. So you only have Amazon Prime. How about you?
Well, no, I have to confess, we have Netflix here, but I'm not paying for it. Someone else is. It's too complicated.
It's not that complicated.
It's not complicated. Let's be honest. It doesn't that complicated at all. Okay, I hear you. Because I was going to ask you, how's your family letting you get away with it? I mean, your daughter is older than my kids, so I can see it. But if you had kids my age, Netflix and now Disney Plus are not remotely optional. Like, that is, there's no way that you cannot get it. So Jayar, which ones do you?
It sucks. I've got cable because we watch a lot of Dodgers games, me and my kid. And the only way you can watch a Dodgers game is if you have a Spectrum, which is a racket. If it wasn't for that, I honestly probably wouldn't have it. Because I stopped with the NFL Sunday tickets, which I used to also get through that too. Don't do it. But so I still have cable, number one. I've got Netflix, I've got Hulu, I've got Disney Plus, I've got Prime. There was another one I think I was going to get. It was like a BET one, but I didn't do it. I've got every one of them. I've got all of them. Because if I want to
pay like between when you throw in the internet there, your bill's probably up to like nearly $300 a month.
Probably, but honestly, if it wasn't for cable, it would be nothing. It would be like $50.
That's right.
Cable's the worst.
Yeah, no, I had NFL tickets, so you don't have that anymore. So you won't be 300, but you'll be up around 2, maybe even 250. But when I had Direct TV NFL ticket, just my internet and my Direct TV was like $200. It's insane. So once I dumped that, between the 4 streaming services we probably have, that's like $60. It's not, it's not free, but and then you got to pay for internet anyway. But it's a lot more options. It's ironic because 4 streaming services is a lot more options than 500 channels, because we weren't watching golf TV. And like by then it got absurd. There was like 3 different golf TV channels that NBC alone had, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, no, you don't need a channel dedicated to the twisties and gymnastics, right? Like,
and then there's Fuse TV. Then there's the cooking channel. Then this cooking channel 2. Then the baking channel. Then the frying channel. I was like, how many different ways can we watch people cook something that I could never do anyway? So why am I watching this? It doesn't calm me. People say like, my wife watches this baking show, The Great British Bake Off. That's streaming. So if you want to watch a particular show, you can stream it without getting the stupid shows like what's it, Chopped? Okay, sorry man, this is 4 different tangents. Chopped on the Food Network. Let's take some chefs, put them in a room, give them things to cook because they're good chefs. And let's put some garbage in there and tell them to put some garbage in the middle of their food as well, and see if professional chefs can like it, taste it or not. Well, you told me to put pork rinds in my pie. How is that gonna work out for me? Anyway, these are the things that I'm frustrated with cable that I pay for.
Yeah, I hear you, Jayar, but now I'm getting the sense that you actually do watch all those different.
I used to, because I'm one of those people who's like, if I pay for it, I gotta use it. So I channel surf, bro. I channel surf.
Well, I tell you, man, you guys, just, I'm known for being cheap. I think you guys just out cheap me. With Jayar's like going through 498 channels to get his money's worth on cable. Dave's like, man, if I got something from Blockbuster, I'm watching it 3 times. Anyways, so it's funny because there's a Fuse, and then there was Fusion. That's how many channels there were. Like they were running out of names. They were running out of English words for the channels, and of course we had a show on Fusion.
Oh yeah,
yeah. Anyways, new YouTube members, by the way, Kevin Wolf. Thank you for subscribing. You hit the join button below on YouTube to do that. And Brenda R just became a member at Essentials level. So you're kind of awesome. Thank you, we appreciate it. Dave, in our members section, LMG15 has a question for you. Is TYT gonna bring back Dave Koller's America?
Oh, I love it.
Oh, that's a question for Cenk, not for me.
Okay, but you would bring it back in a heartbeat.
Yeah, of course. Well, we need some place to put it. That's the tough part.
Yeah, 100%. Like, what are we gonna do? Start a whole new Dave Koller's America channel?
Yeah.
That. Good luck trying to get that to work with the algorithms. But you know what, Dave? What you could do though is you could start attacking bigger YouTube channels.
Yeah.
With Dave Koller's America, like super random. They're like, "What is Sam?" You randomly attack Sam Cedar, and he's like, yeah. "Why is Dave Koller attacking me? And what does it have to do with his America?" You got nothing but love here from all the members. So that was LMG15. Zrive writes in, the epic return of Dave Koller. I'm excited for this old school. Felicia writes in, so glad to see Dave on old school again. The main thing I'm getting out of this is ain't nobody give a damn about Jay. Jan writes in, Dave, we have missed you so much. Welcome back. And love old school. And love old school with Jayar for sure. And of course, Cenk too.
Nah, yeah, but I'm not buying that one. That was just a gimme. That was a throwaway.
And Temur, the 905 Dragon writes in, the week doesn't start right without old school. I'm enjoying these stories of the way back when days more than I probably should be as a middle of the road millennial. Well, look, first of all, as a millennial, I love that you're a member. I love that you're watching, especially a show called Old School. And you know what? Some of the good old days weren't so good, and some of the good old days were pretty good, right?
Absolutely.
And so Anna and I have talked a lot about this in the bonus episodes and stuff. But we were tiny and we were poverty stricken. And some, Dave and I didn't get paid for a bunch of years. I forget how long now. Jayar was an intern, and then when we did get paid, it was very, very low. And it's because we didn't have any money, right? But in those lean, hard years, when we went to IHOP to celebrate, I don't know that any of us have better memories than that of anything.
Yeah, I mean, the best celebrations were Grand Lux, bro. Keep it real. Grand Lux was when something big happened.
Yo, that's big.
Yeah, that was Grand and Lux. Like, for us to spend the money on Grand Lux, that must have been something.
You mentioned how we had all this stuff going on through the whole time we were there, and it reminded me because that's the other thing. You guys talked about that Circuit City that changed to a Ross. Anyways, you guys changed the channels. There's an LA Fitness that's located just behind the back of that parking lot, right? And while I was at TYT, before we started getting paid, I worked like 14 jobs out of college because I was only part-time at TYT, it's impossible, right? So that was one of my jobs at LA Fitness. I was a personal trainer, like to get them, like get their palate started, So I give them one free workout. Then once they love the workouts, then I hand them off to a certified personal trainer because I was just this guy who ran track at school. And then I came and got that job. Anyways, when I interviewed for that job, it's the nastiest interview I've ever been a part of in my life. The guy he wasn't roided up, but he was definitely full of a bunch of protein powders and supplements. This man farted five times during that interview with me and him. I was the one looking for the job. He's the supervisor, and I'm telling you, every 2 minutes he'd lift up his cheek and be like, "Ugh, okay, sorry about that. I was like, what's going on? I'm like, if you offer me the job, I need it, but can I still turn it down?
I have never heard of that in my life. Like somebody farting in the middle of interviews. But not only that, repeatedly, but not only that, acknowledging it.
And he's the guy who's trying to give me the job. It's like I should be the one I should be trying to impress you, and you're disappointing me right now, bro. It was horrible. So I
don't know that I've ever been in a room where someone farted and acknowledged it, ever. Let alone during a job interview, let alone 7 times.
Because he couldn't deny it. If you're in the elevator with one other guy and it suddenly smells, hey, you know who did it.
Yeah, don't pull this. Look, no, I'm not the imposter stuff. We know who the imposter is.
You and I both know.
So,
sorry, that just came to mind.
No, it's I love it. So I didn't know that you were an appetizer trainer.
Yeah, no, it was funny because whenever women would come in, they want leg workouts, and when guys come in, they want to do some upper body because that's just the way we are. And so I'd have to try and find something that they like that is gonna get them going, oh man, I need help with this because I really want to do that, but I don't know how to do it. That was the whole approach. And for the $6.25 an hour that they were paying me, I had to come up with this scheme to get them to really want to do it, then hand them off to a trainer. And the trainers were like so happy if I got a chance to hand them off to someone. Like, oh my God, thank you so much. It's like, man, like everybody's livelihood depends off of this stupid little racket. And it sucked. And it was a bunch of, some were roided out trainers, and some that were on all the supplements that made them fart like that guy. And we worked it.
So, but Jayar, and that's the second time you mentioned a racket this show, brother. Almost everything's a racket, right? Like we're lucky we work in a place that's largely not a racket. So that's because 2 out of the 3 people you're looking at here kind of set it up, and so we didn't want a racket. We wanted to do something that was fun and interesting and real and honest. But yeah, of course, like. Somebody I know that used to work at TYT was recently telling me a story about how they went to go work at a giant corporation, and they said everything was about money. Like you had to justify everything down to the cent, and I in a sense I was like, of course, right? They're not going to do anything for that isn't centered around money. On the other hand, sometimes we kind of do, right? We gotta stay in business, but we've done some things that were fun, like Grand Lux. That happened.
There was a place I thought. Sorry, go ahead. You have more thoughts.
No, it's okay. We were at basketball yesterday, which you were supposed to come to, Jayar. And it's okay. Steve told, somehow you came up in the conversation, and Steve told the other guys that you used to run hurdles at USC. And they were like, so he was like a world-class athlete. And then my favorite part was they added, I don't get it.
They said it and they don't get it?
Yeah, it might have been Steve, and you know Steve, so.
Steve the hater.
He's, oh God, hater 101 on the court.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like you guys were setting up some kind of a big expectation for when I do show up. Because the reason I didn't show up is because I stayed up late. I had my cousin over and his girl, and we had a couple people, and we just hung out.
You don't have to explain it. No one cares. That's okay.
Either way it goes, you're right. And so I was like, I really want to go play ball in the morning though, and I was like, yeah, it's too late. It's 2 a.m. But the thing is there's you guys. I've had this before. People before I get there, be like, "Oh yeah, Jayar was a superstar athlete at USC." No. I was like a mid-range athlete at USC. Like I was on the travel team, and that was about it. Like I wasn't like a world champion. I ran with world champions and folks that have won multiple world championships. That wasn't me. So like I was in the room, I was good. So then now at 41 years old, if I show up to basketball and people say, "Oh yeah, this is the guy from USC," I'm like, bro, the knees are 41 years old. My neck hurts, my back if I turn it the wrong way. If I don't stretch right, this hammy is definitely gonna get pulled. So like all these things.
I know.
I feel like
listen, you're telling a guy with 51-year-old knees, it's sitting at 5'9" and over 250. Trust me, the knees are hurting. Okay, so that's begun. And I like how you're like, I got news for you, Jayar. Let me put it this way. If you run on the same team as world champions, you were a really good athlete. Okay, that's what you were. Let's just keep it real. Sure. Okay, look, we're about to run out of time. I don't know if we'll be able to fit in this dynamic topic in 2 minutes, but I noticed the other day, and I took a note on it to talk about it on Old School, that when I have a hole in my sock, I don't believe it. It takes me 2-3 wearings of it to acknowledge that there's a hole in there, because I always think like, nah, I just bought these. I just bought them. Like, and the reality is I probably didn't. I probably bought them 2.5 years ago. But I feel like every sock I have, I just bought them. It could be a hole. So I literally don't believe it until like the third time, and I'm like, I guess there is. Should I sew it back up? Because my mom used to do that when we were kids. And I was like, oh right, I don't know how to sew. I'm like, damn it, I gotta throw it out. And I go through this every single time.
So Cenk, the only problem with what you just brought up is that I have 7 to 8 things that relate to that. And it's gonna be embarrassing because I'm disgusting and you guys are gonna find out.
Okay, I do wanna find out. We have 30 seconds left, and then everybody go over if you're a member, go over the members episode, because we got a whole nother episode, 45 minutes just for the members. If you're not a member yet, tyt.com/join. If you're watching on YouTube, you can hit the join button below. On Twitch, you could use tyt.com/prime to get it for free. If you're on Amazon Prime, please do that whether you're a member somewhere else or not, because we get the revenue and we take it from Jeff Bezos. So it's a giant win-win, okay? Anyways, so yeah, we're out of time. Much love, members. We'll see you in a minute. All right, thanks for watching this free clip of Old School. Don't forget to become a TYT member today for the rest of the show and for more exclusive content throughout the network. Join now at tyt.com/join.